Hey, hey, what is going on? This is Ricardo with the Code 7 Podcast Network, and we are about to get started with round 12 of the Dispatchers Roundtable. But first, a word from our sponsors.
InDigital is on a mission to improve the 911 industry. Our goal is to create something better to go above and beyond the current standards. Our passion for creating the most advanced, well-designed solutions led to our position as an industry leader in next-gen core services. For the millions of calls processed over our emergency IP networks, to our Text for 911 solution, Texty, to our disaster recovery and backup solution, Mevo, it's easy to see we love what we do. For more information, check us out at www.indigital.net.
Rapid Deploy believes that every public safety agency, regardless of size, should have access to the data they need when it matters most. That's why, since 2016, our mission has been to reduce emergency response times and improve public safety. We are the industry's only integrated emergency response platform. Our web-based cloud platform includes analytics, mapping, dispatch, and mobile apps, purpose-built for 911 in the 21st century. Visit www.rapiddeploy.com to learn how we enable effective, efficient, data-driven emergency response.
If Within the Trenches has ever taught you something, open your eyes to what it is like to be a 911 dispatcher, or has inspired you to become one, then help support us and join our Patreon. Get exclusive bonus content, one-of-a-kind swag, discounts on merchandise, ad-free early access to new episodes, and much more. To join, please visit patreon.com/WTT podcast. And if you're an industry partner, we have something for you as well. And now, for the show.
Oh, yeah. There we go. A word from the sponsors. Thank you very much to the sponsors as well as all the patrons. I wouldn't be able to do everything that I do without all of you, especially all of you who watch, listen, and support. So thank you so much. This round of the Dispatchers Roundtable, round 12, is sponsored by InDigital and Rapid Deploy. And let me throw up some branding here. Bam. All right, here we go. We already got some comments coming in. And let me move over here really quick. Kelsey, what's going on? Robert, Kimber, everyone who's joining in. Excellent. Thank you so much for joining us. We are going to be talking about some stuff that, when I was in dispatch in the beginning, like some of it I paid attention to, others I didn't. And looking back at it now, I really wish I did, because there is a lot of technology that's out there right now having to do with all different types of data. And man, I'm a little jealous because I wish I was in there to be able to use all of this and put it towards every call that I take. So props to all of you for everything that you do and for those who work so hard to put it all together. So we're about to get started here, and I'm going to bring up my panelists one by one and then go in with our intro music and have them tell a little bit about themselves, and then we can get into this discussion here. So coming up first, we've got Anna, and she's out of Missouri. We'll bring her up here.
Hi.
All right. What is going on?
Not a whole lot. Coming on here to talk some map stuff. I don't know how deep into the roots people want to go, but I am here to fill in information as much as you can. I'm working on, I'm from Missouri. I'm working on the state standards for Next Gen 911. I'm helping write the NENA requirements document for the 3D data down the road. So hopefully we can talk about what's coming, and I'd love to know challenges people are experiencing, because that's something else. So
yeah,
hopefully we all get to learn today.
Awesome. That'll be good, because that was one of the things that I have here in my notes, that that you're on that board and you're helping out with a lot of different things with NENA. So yes, definitely, I want to try to get to that as much as possible with everything that we have going on here. Now, next up, we have Crissy, and she is out of Sherman County, Kansas.
Hello, everyone.
How is it going?
Good. This is my very first podcast, so let me say that. It's going really well.
All right. And live, no less.
Live, no less, yes. So I live on the state line with Colorado, so we deal with all of those Colorado issues that come into our state. I have been 911 director for about 16 years, dispatcher for 17. So my county decided it was okay to hire someone with 1 year experience to be their director, which, okay, fine. But I come from a department of 6 people total, including myself. Started out criminal justice major and just about a GIS major, and then got talked out of it. So here I am, very interested in the technology and its capabilities. I just don't know exactly how to make it all happen, which is what Anna does. So I think this will be fun.
All right. This will be excellent then. I'm getting a little. Oh, no, there it goes. All right. I was going to say, it sounded like a little feedback there, but we're good. So now that we've had a little intro for the both of you, I'm going to hit the intro music, and then we are going to get started with this discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, welcome to the Dispatchers Roundtable. Oh, man. I love that tune. So again, everyone who is watching, thank you very much for joining in, and welcome to round 12 of the Dispatchers Roundtable. We are going to be talking about mapping and GIS data. And like I said in the beginning, this is some stuff that I really didn't pay attention to. Shame on me. I really didn't pay attention to a lot of this stuff. Of course, I used my maps and everything that we needed to, but I mean, everything else that goes into, like the data that goes into, the program, just everything that we were using at the time. That's the stuff that I really didn't pay attention to. Like, we had someone, a dedicated person that, well, kind of dedicated. She was one of the supervisors along with me, but she did an excellent job. Like, if we had some sort of discrepancies or anything with phone calls that would come in, she would be the one to follow up on that, or we would send an officer who might be in the area. I remember a couple times where she would hear someone, she would be in the supervisor's office doing something, and she would hear someone who was in the area, and she would run out and say, ask them to go by such and such house, give the description, and see if there was anything actually there. And sometimes there wouldn't be a house there, or it would be something different, so we would get more information from that. Again, there was so much that went into it, stuff that I really didn't pay attention to, but I really wish I did now, looking back at it. And we're going to be talking about a lot of this stuff coming in here. One of the last questions that we're going to have is one that I put out already. And it was, if you had a whiteboard with no constraints, nothing at all, what would the ideal mapping solution be like for you? What would it do, and what problems would it solve? That's the ultimate question, really, but we're going to get to that more here at the end. So what I want to start off with asking, and also not just for the both of you, and Anna, actually this one is kind of includes you, because I think you are this person already, but for those who are watching, do you have a dedicated GIS person? And I guess we'll start with Anna. How is that, important? Is there an importance, or can anyone do it? Like, let's get into this.
Okay, so I would say that, that's a tricky question to answer. Is it, if everything was equal and all pockets were bottomless, everyone should have a map, for every PSAP out there should have a dedicated map person. Somebody with a mapping background. And I can tell you the difference. Not like here's A and B, here's the difference, but like as an example of a reason why my mapping background has helped my organization. Moving from a non-mapping CAD system to a mapping CAD system. When you're in a non-mapping CAD system, you maintain everything in tables. So one of the things that's important there are dead ends. You can build dead ends into your tabular system so that when you put an address in there, you can see cross streets of Main Street and a dead end. So you're in the last segment of that street and you don't have to worry about it. But when you go to a mapping CAD system, you aren't building those roads in tabularly anymore, and there generally are not roads listed as dead end in a road network, in a GIS, in a geographic road network. So how do you get dead end to pop up where it's showing you cross streets if there are no dead end segments in there, right? And unfortunately, I think a lot of PSAPs have had to put up with just losing that dead end in their cross streets, like having it come up and saying dead end. I was able to write a script that took our road center line network, identified all the dead end, all the points where roads came to a dead end, and it created little 1 foot long segments at the end of those roads that say dead end. So the system actually sees that dead end segment as part of a cross street. So now they got to have their dead end segments. So when they're looking at cross streets, they can still see, like they were used to seeing for 25 years, they can still see, okay, this is between Main Street and the dead end.
Right.
So there's an example of how my mapping background enabled us to give them that ability to see those, which they said it has been really helpful. So that's a
And that's good because so we were talking in the beginning of this, and before in the green room before we started, and you had mentioned that everything that you're doing is for those who are in dispatch, and so that they can have this, all this information to be able to use it for the calls that are coming in. And so I have a quick story. When I was working for In Digital, and I told the story before, but this works the same way because of what you're saying and how crucial it is for everything that you're putting in there. And I was I was working one morning, and we had a class come in. It was a class of interns that were coming in. They were going to be doing all different types of computer software, and what they were going to be building, developing, whichever. And a lot of them wanted to get into doing this type of thing for 911. And my bosses wanted me to be the one to speak to them and give them the tour. And they said, we want you to be very honest with them. And I just looked at them, and then I kind of chuckled and I said, do you want them to work here? Because if I'm that honest with them, like, they might get scared. And they said, we want you to lay it on them. And I said, okay. So I introduced myself, and I gave a few of my stories, and I basically told them that if they were going to be doing this type of work, especially if it's dealing with, calls getting routed to where it's supposed to be, that they better be triple checking everything that they're doing, because one period or one slash off or whichever could cause a call not to get to where it's supposed to go, and someone might die. And I I remember their professors just and, but it's true, right? So
yeah, it's absolutely true.
yeah,
Not that it's not just if a call gets misrouted. If a segment's broken and the AVL can't calculate the closest ambulance, if there's all kinds of things that can go wrong that can endanger lives.
mhm,
Yes, it's very important to keep that in mind when you're maintaining these systems. Is that yes, as much as you have the absolute ability to put people in danger, and the more you can make life easier for the people that you're supporting, the safer and happier everyone is.
right, exactly. Now, Crissy, for you, you said that um, you come from a small center, right? And so there's
Yes.
6 of you. So how does this work for you on your end? Because you also, um, you love maps. Like, you said you're like a mapping nerd, which is awesome. And so you're really into this as well. So is it you, or do you have another person, or how does it work for you at your center?
Kansas is very fortunate because I can't tell you the length of time, but not too long ago, the state did aerial photography for the whole state,
Hmm.
which is something that we never had. We had to do it county by county. And I can tell you that the time before that I had it flown, it was $70,000 just for my little county, just to get up to date photography. So going from, say, 10 years ago to just the last few years with the state taking care of us in that aspect, we've contracted with a company that's based in Northwest Kansas, and he does all of our map updates and quality control and things like that. And we just pay him a fee. So my direct involvement is just simply if we do find a minor issue, something doesn't map quite right, we need to move an address point. It's a simple email to him, and it's done within, I would say, almost 24 hours most of the time.
Oh,
It did scare me when I first found out that the expectation of accuracy was 100%. Because of course, years ago, it was like, that was mind blowing. But with our accessibility to our contractor and the state maintaining, everything that they do up in the cloud, so to speak, I have to say I feel pretty spoiled.
well, that's good then, though, right? I mean,
Oh, absolutely. I have lots of other things to worry about. I mean, everything from staffing to the weather to, all kinds of stuff. Plus, I'm the assistant to our emergency manager in our county who covers 3 counties in Kansas. So, yeah, I mean, we stay busy.
so then, Crissy, for you, how important is it then to get this stuff done as fast as possible? To be able to do it. I guess just have that flow, where you see a discrepancy, you get it out there, you've got someone who is able to do it that fast. Because if they're, I mean, it could be a small issue, but it could turn into something big, right? Because it could also affect your ESNs, your emergency, service numbers, and who is going to be going out to that area. I know. Oh my gosh. Now it's all flooding back. I remember when I was in dispatch, there was this one area that seemed to they would move it a little bit and they would say, okay, we got to fix this and fix this. So then it would go from, and I'll just say it because I'm friends with everyone still there, but it would go from like Otsego fire to Plainwell fire, or it would be Plainwell fire and then Gun Plains fire. And we're like, who the hell, what is going on? Like, why does this keep changing? And they would change stuff. And, if you didn't have that info, like, of course we would be passing information on, but if someone just happened not to, and it didn't happen, but just as an example, if someone didn't pass that on, you've got a different agency that's going out there, or you might think you're at level 0, but really you have somebody, but it's because that line changed. So for you, Crissy, how important is that to have those changes?
I guess my answer is twofold. Our entire county only has about 5,000 people in it. Our fire districts and EMS districts are very straightforward. So it's not as critical as it is, say, in a bigger agency. That's always on my mind when I think about, my coworkers in larger counties and how important that 100% accuracy is. Unless someone really can't tell us where they are, off the top of our head, we usually know which ESN, they are in.
That is true.
But still, we treat every call, as everyone knows, as if it's our own mother, brother, dad, sister. So I want 100% accuracy. There's places where the system can fail. Sadly, and this is one of the things that I wish was a little bit different, is that the error reporting was automatic. Like if we press a button and type in the corrections, it would just send it without us actually manually having to submit it. So that's one thing I would love to see.
There's one of those pieces already.
And that was accidental. I didn't even really plan that. It just came out of my head.
Well done. Well done. Well, so then going from that, I guess this is, you kind of answered this already, kind of, but one of the questions that we had here when we were talking earlier, what is the biggest challenge your center has, that faces when it comes to mapping?
The honest answer is just we work one at a time. And so spinning every single plate, including use of the map, use of the CAD, use of the radio, all those things happening at once. We're getting there. We get to hire another one the first of the year. So we'll have 2 people per shift. That's going to be huge because like with the mapping solution that we have now, it continues to map them even after they hang up. I don't know if I can mention which one we have, but anyhow, it would be great to be able to dedicate someone to tracking that information as the radio traffic is handled by somebody else. So
excellent. Now,
hope that answers your question.
Yes. Now, Anna, for you, you have worked a lot with emergency management, but also in the center with dispatchers and everything. So you hear a lot of calls, you see a lot of the frustrations and everything like that. So I guess I can ask the same thing for you, but from your end, looking in, what have you seen have been some of the biggest challenges, or I guess even, when you're gathering data and to work with those different systems, have there been challenges or frustrations?
Um, I feel like that's like I have a three-pronged answer to that. One of the big challenges is, so we have our CAD system, we have our user agencies are also on it. So I coordinate all of the MCTs, all of the CAD, all that all points at the map in CAD. So the map in CAD runs everything for the county as far as a lot of the public safety goes. And like I said, without getting into too much detail, because I definitely don't talk about vendors too much, but map updates. So I don't know if you guys have heard this expression, but the second you print off a map and it's outdated. Any paper map you have is already outdated. So we try to, and one of the big goals, and this is something that gets brought up in a lot of Next Gen 911 stuff, is you really want to keep your map data updated in as close to real time as humanly possible. For us, that translates to weekly map updates for CAD and monthly map updates for our other mapping solution. And the weekly map updates, trying to coordinate that with multiple user agencies and people in the field versus people in the dispatch room versus et cetera, that's a whole coordinated effort. And so getting everybody on board, because we have multiple user agencies and we've got, getting everybody on board and getting that organized is a big deal. It's not always the most convenient process, because things are unpredictable in the emergency management and 911 world. You don't know if you're going to have somebody in the middle of a pursuit while you're pushing a map update, because I have no way to know what's going on in the field at the time. So we kind of having to muddle through that and making sure that we keep everything up to date as much as possible. That's a big one. So yes, the ability to synchronize map data between multiple places is definitely a challenge. So there's that piece of it. I would also say that we use GIS data from multiple sources. We have multiple addressing agencies. We have multiple parties that help maintain the road data, which means that if party A makes a change to a road segment that I didn't know about and they didn't fill something out properly, that road segment might disappear, and suddenly we've got a routing problem, because in it you can't route an ambulance down a road that's not there anymore.
Right.
So these are things that when you get these multiple moving parties and they're all coordinating and working together, trying to make sure you know what's going into the system at every update is also a challenge. And we did have an issue fairly-ish recently where one of the other groups that helps maintain the road data didn't quite populate all the information correctly on at a particular intersection that was 1 block north of a hospital. And so basically it made the intersection invalid, and the ambulances that were stationed at that hospital couldn't go north or east without going down and around. And I mean, that was one of those, oh, we need to fix this right now. Like, holy crap, we got to do, and there was no way we could have seen it. It just happened. And then we figured it out when the wrong ambulance got called. And then, yes, there was a rush to go in and get it fixed really quickly. But that's, there was, like I said, there was no way we could have really prevented it. It's just one of those things that happens, and you have to be able to fix it quickly.
Right.
So that's prong 2.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I would say is that, because I have no experience as a dispatcher. I've never been a dispatcher. I'm a map person. My background is in geography. Before that, it was in geology. But one of the things that my department has done, and this has been really, really helpful, and forgive me if I jump on a soapbox about this, because I really think it's very important, is that we spend time in dispatch. We spend time with our user agencies. I've been on multiple law ride-alongs. I've been on multiple medic ride-alongs. I've been on multiple fire ride-alongs, and I've spent hours and hours and hours sitting in dispatch. I know what all the positions are. I've listened to main law. I've listened to call taking. I've listened to fire and how all of the things interact, the radios and the phones and the maps and the everything. it's really important to foster a relationship between the tech nerds like me and dispatch. Having them come in and do sit-ins and having them experience the kind of stuff the kinds of things that dispatchers deal with every day. It's too easy to get stuck in your little corner with your computer and forget that there's a whole world out here where there are very real consequences and serious things happening. So I feel like there's a whole lot of room for growth in that area, where for places that have IT that isn't directly related to 911, invite them in. I mean, have them sit with you. It's, get to know them. Let them get to know you. And that I really feel like that helps a lot with us on our end understanding what we're supporting, and making sure not to do things like making sorry, I get excited. My job is to make life easier for my dispatchers and my user agencies. That is the sole purpose of my job, is to do what they need me to do. And I can't do that if I don't understand their jobs. So there's my soapbox.
Damn. Mic drop. Yeah, no, that is excellent. I mean, I just threw up a comment there from Halcyon where she's saying yes, because no, man, that is for real. And Crissy, you probably agree as well that people do need to be coming in and really, like she said, be in there with dispatch and figure out how all of it works, because it only helps them do their job better. And to
Well, I'll say this, from a long-standing dispatcher standpoint, anytime we can get someone to come and sit with us for more than, say, an hour, but like sit through an actual incident, their minds are blown. Yes. Like, they're like, how do you do this? And then their second comment is, I could never do this. But yes, but it's also true with us in dispatch. We need to get out, just like you said, and experience the field as well.
That is awesome. Someone said here, you're like a unicorn. I mean, and because
wait,
a lot of people.
I mean, she's got this awesome hair going on.
I refuse to grow up.
I love
the
it.
hair is amazing. Yeah, I dig it as well. But it is rare to hear some people. I know a lot of people who feel the same way. So I can't say rare, but what I'm getting at is, when I was in dispatch, there were a lot of people there that didn't do that. They didn't care to come in or to learn anything. I mean, the IT department that we had was actually pretty strict, and they were strict enough that I couldn't move a monitor because they were afraid that I was going to unplug something wrong. I'm like, come on.
You laugh about that, but the number of times I've been on call and had to go in to fix a jiggled cord because somebody moved a monitor, it costs my organization money every time I have to do that. So,
well, we got into it. I pulled that cord.
But that's the flip side of that one.
Well, the monitor was broken, and they wouldn't send anybody to come and fix it.
Oh.
And we needed it badly that night. So it's one plug, move monitor over, bring other monitor, plug in, and then we had it.
And there are, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but when you're in those moments, you have to do what you need to do to get your tools back. You don't have time to wait on somebody.
Yes, exactly. And what's funny, and I don't care now because I've been gone for a long time, but what's funny is that their director, they ended up telling me just to go ahead and do what I had to do, but then later on ended up saying, we never told them that. So we sent them the recording, and they're like, all right, yeah, is the monitor working? We're like, yeah, okay. So yes. Back to what we were saying. No, that is awesome. Just like everybody is saying here, in the comments and such, Kimber right here, she says, and I put it up on the screen, which says input on both sides, dispatch and IT is incredibly valuable. And I believe it as well, because for all of the ones that didn't want to come in, there were those couple that did, and they understood. And those were the ones that we went to be able to make the higher ups understand what it was that we needed and why we needed it so badly. And it worked. It worked so well. to be able to do that. So yeah, kudos for the way, you know, you think there, those three prongs that you put out, especially that last one. That is excellent. Now, moving on here. Now, this one is more for Crissy. So, with the mapping solution that you have, what was one of the reasons you ended up going with that one? Was it just, I don't know, was it just features, ease of use, or what was it? And the reason I asked too is because I think back to when I was in dispatch, and we had the CAD system that we had was, I think it was like black and green, and it was all codes, and we had to make sure that you memorized it because you couldn't get to the next field without putting the right incident type, township number, all of that good stuff. But once we updated, we had a map. We had a map that worked with the CAD system. However, as cool as the map was supposed to be, it didn't work. It didn't work that well, or it would take about 5 minutes or so to load. And by that time, like, we're already pretty much done with the call. So there was no reason for it. But so for you, with the solution that you have, you know, what were some of the reasons that you chose to go with that one?
Well, in our state, we have a statewide platform,
Mhm.
and I apologize to anyone out there with the coordinating council or AT&T because I might misspeak on some details, but Kansas makes it so easy for us in the 911 world because they offered a statewide platform, like I said, which included mapping, the software, everything. So, with the exception of a few counties in our state, and they have their own reasons, but most of us went with the platform that was offered through AT&T, and everyone is extremely happy with it, to my knowledge. One of the benefits that when I heard about it, I just about jumped up and down. We don't really have an offsite backup. So that's a super scary situation, but what do you do? When I learned about this platform, they told us that if something should happen in our center and we need to go to the neighboring county, we just log in with our credentials and there's our calls and there's our map. And I just about fainted. So that's one of the huge features for me. They're also offering, I don't have it yet, need more money, just like everything, but they're offering a 911 call center in a box. So a laptop, everything you need to take calls other than in your center. And I'm really looking forward to at least getting one or two of those in our region, if not, in our county eventually, just to have some other method of, until things can be repaired. So, because we all know things happen.
Yeah, right, exactly. Especially with what's going on, what all 2020 has been, you know, COVID and everything, and people are trying to find alternatives. You know, if something happens, God forbid something happens at the center, you need to end up moving from there. It's the same thing if there was a fire there or some weather incident, something going on. You know, there's a lot of different technology that's coming out that gives you the ability to do that, and that, you know, being one of them. As you said, you know, dispatch in a box, and I I did marketing as well for the company that I used to work for, and they had something similar. And one of the flyers that I created was, it was just a play on the huge um trucks, you know, the the huge backup centers, the command centers. And it was really just saying, you know, your backup command center no longer needs wheels, all you need is a handle. It's on a case. So it was going back and forth on that. But yeah, mobile operations, a big thing there. Now, again, just thinking off the top here, for Anna, for you, when talking about mobile operations and everything, does that do anything to your job? I mean, is there anything more? I mean, you've got all the data, you've got the mapping and everything already done for whatever system they might have in a mobile operation center. But
Mhm.
is there any more that you guys do on your end?
Well, I mean, we currently our solutions can be like we have the ability to, depending on where people are and what's going on, um, they can access the systems that they have. A lot of that is on the same network, and there's a lot of the stuff that happens on the server end, and that's actually a little bit outside of what I do, so I can't get real specific on how a lot of that stuff works. But there have definitely been situations where they need paper maps right now. We had a tornado a while ago, and that was, we had to make, basically make maps for people to take in the field, or at least just operationally, so they could throw it down on the table and figure out where everybody was going to go and how they were going to handle search and rescue and data collection for damage and stuff like that. So there are also all kinds of things that have opened up as possibilities in some of the GIS stuff, like not necessarily public safety dependent, but stuff that could very well be used for public safety and emergency management. A big thing is getting data from the field into the operations center in real time. So if you've got people out doing search and rescue in a big disaster, you're going to have people in a control center, and they're going to be looking at monitors, and they're going to want to see the data that's being collected in the field as it's being collected. And the technology exists to do that now. So that's sort of a big thing. I'm not quite sure to answer the question, but
I don't know. I mean, that works because a lot of the stuff that you're saying, I'm like, damn, like there's stuff out there that I don't know. Like this is one area that I don't know a lot about. I've got a good friend. His name is Brooks, and he is all about GIS stuff. And I would have I used to work with him at In Digital, and we would have some conversations sometimes, and I'm just staring at him, and he'd say, "Did I lose you?" I'm like, "Not really, but I'm enjoying the conversation." So keep going. Because it's very interesting. And then, just trying to place myself back in dispatch and thinking about how all of this was going around or going on rather, and then just, I guess, wishing that I was able to also use it myself, but of course I can't. So Crissy, for you, and your crew, what are some of the biggest challenges that your dispatchers and call takers have when it comes to mapping, I guess, in general? I mean, whether it be the solution or with calls, or I guess, what are some of the biggest challenges when it comes to mapping?
It's very simple. Just like I said, managing everything at one time. My biggest fear is I'll be on a really crucial call, and I'm stuck on, making sure the information gets typed in the CAD and saved and all that kind of stuff, so I don't lose it, because we've all done that a time or two. And something critical has happened, like I don't look up at my map and realize that what they're telling me is not matching up to where it's mapping. And I'm always afraid that one of these days that's going to end up in litigation or something. So ours, it's just very simple. It's that manpower issue, which, like I said, lucky for us, after a couple of years of asking, I'm adding to my staff. So I think that's something all call centers need to really look at is, okay, next is video to 911. I'm sitting here talking with all of you. Imagine that you're a victim and I'm on with you and another line rings. What am I going to do in a small center? I mean,
This is true.
we need to get ahead of that.
I know that's a big push for next 911 is, any device, anytime access to 911.
And if any more smartwatches come up with any more features that call us, I'm going to turn in my notice.
Yeah, that was an issue for a while there, right? And because then I see it all over social media, right, when all of this started going on, and I thought, I'm gonna try it. I didn't let it go that far. Just I pushed it long enough, and I saw it come up, and luckily it didn't go through. But then shortly thereafter, you see it all over the news, and they're talking about smartwatches and how they're calling 911. 911's inundated with all of these different calls, and then the company started coming out with certain things or different ways. You would get updates. It's like, you need to update this, because then if you're holding on to it, then it gives you the option, to swipe. When before it was like just going in.
Well, yesterday, the Kansas, we have a PSAP roundtable that we have discussions on each week, lucky for us. That started with COVID, and now we've changed over to just anything that's on our mind. But there was 2 reported cases of a Google Pixel phone. One case was sitting in a hair salon. Someone said something about calling 911, like verbally, and the phone itself called 911. They didn't say like the Siri, or I don't have any of those features, but they did not say the trigger word. The phone just was listening and literally called 911. They thought it was a fluke. And then a same model of phone did the same thing while testing it to see if it would do it. So
Man.
I would say like our open line 911s are probably our biggest pain in the backside outside of, mapping issues, but it's great to get their location and to send someone and to say, well, you actually did call us. And of course they didn't, but yeah, that's just a general dispatch issue that we're seeing too.
Oh, man. And so with that question that went out to you, there were some people here in the audience that answered as well. So here's one, and it says accurate cell phone location data when the person doesn't know where they are or can't speak, especially in large park areas. And others, that are watching this right now, if you have any other biggest challenges that you think, please put them in here in the comments, and we can go back and forth to them as we go along. Now it looks like and this might be when we were talking about the awesomeness of mapping in GIS. This one that came up here that says, I feel like I get that stare sometimes. I forget others don't quite or get quite as excited as I do about maps and technology in general.
I know I know that deer in headlights look. It happens especially when I get really excited about having solved something like the dead end example.
Yeah.
And I'm getting really excited and talking about segments and feature classes and calling different functions in a Python script, and then the eyes kind of go like this, and I recognize that I've been speaking in tongues, and yeah, I know that look.
Oh man. No, that is funny. So I've never worked in Python myself, but some of the guys that I used to work with, one guy specifically, he was Python everything, and he would talk and he'd be telling me stuff, and I'm like, dude, you are going into some coding that I don't know. Like I'm on different coding than you, so you can keep talking, but I don't know what it is. So go ahead. But yes, I would be the one giving that stare there. Um, let me see. So for Crissy, what are actually no, let me go back to Anna really quick. With those that you work with, there in the center that you've been around, have they mentioned any other like frustrations or anything that they deal with that you're like, maybe that's something I can look into, or maybe that's something
Yeah.
that I can figure out? Like, what are some of those, examples, I guess?
Well, see, I have made it, or at least I've done my best, and hopefully anybody that I support that's watching this would agree. But fingers crossed. I want them to tell me if there are things with the maps that are confusing, if there are things that aren't there that they would like to have there. If when I first started the position, my first question was, "What do you need that you don't have?" And in that instance, it was updated imagery. The imagery that they had in their systems was from 2007, and I was starting in 2015. And we had imagery available. It just hadn't made it to dispatch. And so that was one of the things. So yes, and I've had multiple people say, hey, like one of the things we have are the airport, things like the taxiways and the gate numbers and the building names, so that when they get calls out at the airport, they don't have to try to figure out, well, where in the airport are we? We've got everything on that. But we had to make an effort to go do that. So yes, there many times. Or one of the things that I've had to learn how to do, as again crossing that barrier from being the map person to the position of supporting the people that are doing their jobs. And I can make the prettiest map in the world, and it can look like a work of art, and it's gorgeous. And if you can't glance at it and get the information you need in a split second, that map is worthless. So it's more important for me to pay attention to what they need and how they need to see things. Like if something isn't clear on, it's not my job to determine what's clear on their monitors. They need to tell me what they need, and they're usually pretty good about doing that, so that I can make things easier on them.
Perfect. So everyone who's watching right now, Yeah, everyone who's watching, reach out to your people and actually tell them, because they are listening, and they want to know. They want to make your job easier. So yes, no, well done. That is excellent. Um, Now, Crissy, do you use your mapping program for every single call? Like, are you always using it constantly, or is it just with the higher priorities, or what's the frequency of your map use?
We use it from everything to the great big incidents, clear down to who lives next door to me now. Because we have parcel data in our map as of a couple of months ago. So, I mean, it's just so helpful to have the option to turn the layers on and off. Today, in particular, we were looking at some houses that were pretty close together, and I shut the parcel data off because I couldn't see the address points, like the layering was incorrect, and so I'll let my mapper know about that. Not all of my people would know even what parcel data means. So that's something our next staff meeting, we're going to talk a little bit more about this new map and how great it is. But like I said, being from a rural area, there's times where, hey, cattle are out. We used to have to manually open a phone book and try to figure out who lived in that area and who would have cattle. Well, now we have parcel data, so we can just look and say, well, that at least gives us a name to start with and say who keeps cattle on your property. So just right down to little details like that. But so yeah, I'd say it's a very broad spectrum.
Excellent. Now, I see something that popped up here, and I want to put it up here really quick. Anna, this is for you. So it says that Anna also assisted in multi-layered building location labeling. Huh?
The Z factor.
Yeah. So yes, hook us up. Like, what is all of this?
I think she's talking about floor plans. That's one of the things. Okay, so first off, nobody 100% knows how to handle. Well, okay, back up a further step, and let me know if I lose you guys. But
Thank you for the warning.
I just have the best gauge for that. So until I get the stare. But one of the things that's coming and that's been making a big noise is the z-axis data. It's elevation data, or it's altitude data. It's height above ellipsoid. There's all kinds of terms for it. And the truth is that nobody really knows exactly how it's going to get handled right now. They know it's coming. They know that the cell phone providers have been handed a mandate that they need to provide this information to PSAPs on, I think it's 80% of the calls by the end of 2025 or something like that. I don't remember the exact year. So we know this data is going to be coming in, but it raises a lot of questions. What are you going to do with it? Is it going to be meaningful? Is it going to, when it comes through, if that number says, yeah, their height is at 837 feet, or hey, their height is at -30 feet, what does that mean in the dispatch room? If there's no point of reference, if there's that doesn't mean anything to anybody unless you know maybe how high your own elevation is. Is it going to come in as your actual elevation, or is it going to come in like in story form? This is a first floor, second floor, third floor. How do you calculate that kind of stuff? So and like I said, the answer is right now they're still figuring it out. I think what I could tell you is that well, first of all, I wanted to kind of reassure people that in case they are worried that they are not being represented in the meetings where these things are being decided and figured out and talked about and worked out, they are. One of in both of the groups that I'm in, there are people that have years and years and years of dispatch service or dispatch experience, and very real efforts are being made to create these kinds of things in a way that it is meaningful in the dispatch room. It's not just a question of what the number coming in is going to look like. You guys have to be able to use it. And that is definitely a priority and something that is being taken very seriously. So one of the things that we've started doing is we have started creating floor plan layers. So we have like a basement layer where if we have buildings with basement plans, you turn the basement, well, this is the plan anyway, we're in the process of building it. But we created a layer that has all the basement layouts for the buildings that we have that data for, and then all the first floor layouts and all the second floor layouts. So if you get that data and you think they might be on the second floor, you can go turn that second floor layer on and you actually see the layout of the building that they're in. So that's a lengthy, building all that data is a lengthy process, and it involves converting PDF files and some technical stuff. And actually, it's a lot of fun if you're like me and you like to trace things, because it's there and you're drawing the floors. It's a lot of fun. But that's one of the things, is to be able to see what level you're in, and how to deal with that data. The other thing that's being discussed is, and nothing has been decided. This is not like, here's what's going to happen. It's just, these are things that are being talked about. So in mapping solutions now, you have your confidence circle, right? You've got your location with your confidence circle around it, and you have your confidence and uncertainty about where, so you know that there's a X percentage chance that they're located within this circle.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping I'm talking about familiar things.
Yeah.
So when the mapping catches up with the z-axis data, instead of having a circle, you're probably going to have a cylinder. So you'll be able to look and go, okay, they're within, maybe it's third and fourth floor in this corner, or maybe, but you're not going to be, if you're at a hospital or a big dormitory, or, if you're in a major metropolitan area and you're in some sort of skyscraper, it'll at least keep the responders from going, to the complete wrong section. It'll at least get them closer to where the caller is, if that makes sense.
Yes. Now, Crissy, for you, how important is data like this? I mean, that z-axis is, and I asked this as well because when I was working in the other job, before I started doing what I'm doing now, one of the things that we saw, and even our texting platform that we had, a text for 911, there were coordinates that would come in that had all of that information. And it would plot like right where I was sitting when I was doing demos for people. And I thought, man, this is amazing, but it's also scary because it's so accurate, and it's showing, how high I am in, where I'm at here at home. So for you and for everyone who, that works for you and your crew, how important is this?
Well, I mean, there's several layers to our response that are of concern. Limited staff, usually have one on in the city and one on in the county. So if we have something that's a multi-level structure, such as a hotel, we don't have a lot of tall buildings out here. We do have grain elevators, but people don't occupy the space other than in the top and the bottom, obviously. But something as simple as that, a response to a hotel where someone's calling out for help. Yeah, I mean, it's huge. Some thoughts that went through my head as she was talking about floor plans is, I know our fire department, although we are small, they have floor plans for any and all businesses that would allow them to come in and do that. And so I don't know if that could be worked together with some fire departments if they've already done that. We have the benefit of having a technical college in our community as well. So they've already taken those plans to the drafting department and taken that step. So I think, like in a case like ours, even though we are small, that process may go pretty quickly once the ball gets rolling. So I'm kind of excited about that.
Well, and some of the can actually take those CAD drawings that they draft together, and they can actually convert it straight into feature classes that can go straight in your maps. So yeah, there's a fairly straightforward way to do that.
So I'd say if all the disciplines get together for any reason whatsoever, definitely bring it up and just say, if you haven't started the process, or you don't really feel like, it's pertinent to anyone except for your department, it's coming. So be ready to submit those to us if possible.
So there are a couple comments in here that I want to bring up. So this first one here, it says, it would be awesome if when the z-axis data populates, the floor plan for that specific floor would pop up or hyperlink to the plan.
I totally agree. And actually, I think that there are currently vendors that have that on their roadmap. I think that's definitely something that's in the works. I couldn't tell you how long it'll be till it gets here. So part of it, excuse me. Part of it is, again, that there aren't, people are still figuring out how to do this. So the idea, so like I said, the the format that the data gets sent in, and being able to have that data present. That's a big piece of it, because like I said, it's a lot of it's resource based, and whether or not you can actually get that data together and what's involved in all that. But yes, that is definitely something that's been discussed, and it's something that is being looked at very carefully.
Here's another one here. This is a question here, and it says, do you manually digitize the floor plans into the GIS, or is there some way to automate importing CAD BIM data?
You can do both. I've actually done both depending on the type of floor plan that I'm working with. If it's just a PDF and it works like a picture, I geo-reference it. I'll put it in there and just kind of match it up to the actual building footprint or the imagery, and then just manually draw everything in. If it's a CAD drawing, there's a particular file extension, and you'll have to forgive me because I haven't looked at it in a minute. I can't remember. I think it's .dwg. I think it's a drawing file. If CAD spits out a .dwg file, Esri products can read that. So there's an actual tool in their toolbox where you can import that information into, and you'll still have to geo-reference it because it won't come in with the coordinate system or anything. But yes, as opposed to having to go and meticulously draw all that out, you can import it and just kind of put it in place.
It looks like that one was right.
There we go. Oh, hey, I know her. Thanks.
That's excellent. And then, so Leah goes on to say, we get an alert and can go find it, but I want it now. Like Veruca Salt. I want it now. I don't want to search. Leah and I are friends, so I can call her
I
that.
don't blame. Well, I mean, who wants to search when you've got, the kinds of issues that you guys deal with? You don't have time. You need information at your fingertips.
You don't want to spin another plate.
Right. It needs to be as automatic as possible. And that is definitely something that well, like I said, we're keeping in mind. I certainly hope everyone else in my type of position is also. But yes, I fully agree that that's a need. You don't need one more thing to think about. Your jobs are complicated enough, especially for those of you that have multiple agencies, and multiple disciplines, and having to remember 50,000 nature codes, and what to do in these 3 places where you've got a frequent flyer, or you've got there's all kinds of things in there that make your jobs incredibly complex.
Yes. Yeah. I'm sorry. It just makes me chuckle. Like, yep, you're right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So we're going to go here into the wrap up. We're already going on an hour here, but before we get to this wrap up question, this last question, what the question that I mentioned before in the beginning, I just want to share a story, and I kind of shared it with all of you, or with the both of you already, but for those who are watching, and it's funny and stupid, because I was telling both Crissy and Anna, it's like, this is kind of a mapping type story, but not really. Like, this doesn't have to do with like what we're talking about right now, but it's something that happened to me when I first started working for InDigital. And those who are watching right now, that whenever I travel, something happens. I don't know why, but something seems to happen. So this is a Ricardo story. On the open mic episodes, that's what they're known as, is Ricardo stories, because a lot of stuff happens to me when I travel. Anyway, I was going to, I'm pretty sure it was Johnson County here in Indiana, and the first one was Wells County, actually. The night before, I had gone to eat with my bosses and some coworkers, and we went to a buffet, and I'll never get sushi at a buffet again because of what happened. But I got like food poisoning, and I remember I was headed there, and I was already having just like issues. I was woozy, had a fever. It was, if I were to say that now, people would think I got the Rona or something. But that's not. This is years ago that this happened. Like I said, 2014, and I end up getting there. I'm sick all night, and I remember talking to my boss, and was like, "Just come back." And I was like, "No, I'll be fine. I'll push through it." And I go to the first county. I go to Wells County, and I was going there to both of these counties because there was a mapping company that we were going to be doing some collaborations with, and I was supposed to be the representative for InDigital, and go there and make sure everything was going well, and talk with the directors and stuff, and the dispatchers, and they did not know that I was sick as hell. And I'm like sweating, because I'm still not doing well. I pushed through the first one and then get to the second one, and I'm woozy enough that I'm also nodding off. And I remember the guy who's doing the mapping demonstration. He's like kind of looking at me, and he's talking with authority as he's doing the demo, and I'm like, man, I am so sorry. Like, I am deathly ill. I'm trying to support you, dude, but I'm like nodding off here and there. And then afterwards, he's like, "So, what'd you think about all the demos?" I was like, "I don't know, I don't know, man." Like, I was crazy sick. It was horrible, and actually, hopefully, it was food poisoning because there was another person who was there, who, after I spoke to them, they ended up getting sick and they went home. So maybe it wasn't food poisoning. I don't know, but something happened and it was horrible. And that's my connection to the mapping piece, was because it was just
Sorry, we give you barfy feelings, man. I just,
no, it was just I just had bad sushi or something. The mapping program was awesome, actually. It was really cool, but I was sick, and I will never forget that, thinking about just mapping and demos because of that incident. And I actually had to stay there overnight because I couldn't drive home. That's how bad it was. Um, Hopefully, I never have to deal with that again. Uh, so, going into the wrap up of this live broadcast, here's the question, and this is for all of you on the audience as well. If you had a whiteboard, no constraints, nothing, you had all the money that you had as well to do this.
bottomless pockets.
Yes, exactly. Bottomless pockets. What would the ideal mapping solution do, and what problems would it solve? Crissy, we'll start with you.
I don't really know how to think in that mindset of, bottomless pockets. And I thought about your question as you sent it to me this week.
Mhm.
I guess I'm just in such awe of how great our map is now that I can't even really think to the next step. The only thing I would think to integrate, which I'm told it's coming, is, weather data. Maybe we've got multiple screens, and if we could turn weather data on and off, that's going to be a great feature. The one thing we have, and it's a simple solution, we just haven't gotten around to it, is just being able to see where, like, say, our law enforcement units are. We just don't have that. But it would be lovely to be able to look up and talk to your caller and say, they're literally a mile away from you.
They're turning the corner outside.
Exactly. It's just those things that you can reassure your caller. You don't have to radio your unit and say, how far out are you? Things like that. So I just appreciate any technology that comes our way. So keep it coming, people like Anna and everybody else. I'm not the person who's, I'll admit it, I'm not the one that comes up with great ideas or, formulates things so much. I'm more of a doer. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to where we're going.
Excellent. Yeah. So when I was in dispatch, that was one of the things that luckily we did have an AVL system built in. It was good, but it was bad as well. And the only reason I say that it was bad is because it seemed to happen all the time when I was on radios. I'm sure it happened to everybody, but I would send somebody out and they'd say, "Where's the state at?" And then because they were all able to see each other on the map as well, so they would say, go to secondary or something, or they would send us a message and they'd say, "Hey, the state is just down the road from there." I'm like, yeah, well, the state is actually checked out on something else. You must not have heard them. But
Go to the call.
yeah, it was those little things every now and then. Don't get me wrong, having calls and being able to say, like you were saying as well, that they're just a mile away or they're just around the corner, they're almost there. That reassurance, that definitely helped out. But when you're on main radios and you have officers that are looking at each other for whatever reason, that would come up and you'd be like, come on, man. Like, does it matter? Just go ahead and go, please. How about if I say please? So there would be those little issues every now and then. However, the AVL system, excellent. That is always good.
I guess I would just like to see my eyes have to go less places.
Yes.
to put it in a nutshell.
Yeah.
And like Leah says in the comments, be able to turn things on and off, and maybe I'm reading a different comment, but it is nice to have the layers to just click on and off according to what's happening.
Yes, because I want every layer possible, start high level, and as you focus in to the more precise location, and information that you could have that it's possible, owners, utilities, common names, etc.
I'd like to jump in on that one for a second, because that's actually something that I deal with on a really regular basis, is trying to figure out how to provide the information that you need without providing information via fire hose. Because if you have, I mean, I could give you the entire parcels layer, and it has everything from tax codes to, what fire department's supposed to go, which you don't need because that's another layer. How do I make sure that the information that you need is there, but it's not clouded in information that you don't need? And that is something that, again, going back to that communicating with dispatch and learning more about how the jobs work and listening to what they say they need, or because it's one of those things where a lot of times dispatch doesn't know what's possible, and I don't necessarily automatically know what they need. So those conversations where we, they talk about their wish list and what would you want, and what's frustrating you, those have been really, really important for our agency.
Excellent. We've got I think this is a comment on what I was saying, but it says we just obtained the ability to use AVL for closest unit dispatching in the last 2 years, and we still have people in the field question what unit is closest.
Oh yeah, we do.
Says, but
actually, though, sometimes they're right. Sometimes, and going back to that example I was giving where we had an intersection that suddenly didn't work, and 2 medics away, they want to know why they got called and why the people who were 2 blocks away didn't get called. Well, that was legitimate, and it was because we had a broken intersection that needed to be fixed right now. And so it just depends. Sometimes it's just trust like 99% of the time, trust the system, do what the system is, just go with what the system says. But then you got those ones that come through where, oh wait, no, there was an issue, and they're absolutely right, they should have been called and they weren't, or they shouldn't have been called.
Well, here's a perfect solution from Kimber. Send them both then.
Yeah. Solving the world's problems.
That's right. Yeah, because once you say it over the radio, I mean, they kind of have to go, like, especially if the sergeant or whoever is listening, like, they told you to go. Why didn't you go? Oh, man. Well, thank you both so very much. One of the things that I want to put up here really quick in the comments for all those who are watching, and especially for those who end up joining to watch the replays and such, you have the opportunity to take part in a study that's being built for mapping and such. So I'm going to put the information here in the comments, and you can check it out and fill it out. And, whatever information you end up giving there, again, it's a study for mapping, types of stuff. A lot of the stuff that we were talking about, frustrations, features, or whichever. This is information that you can give and help shape, different mapping companies that come. Anna, for you, as we go into the wrap up here, how can people find out more about the work group that you're working on with Nina if people want to get involved?
Actually, if that's the case, I would actually go to the Nina website and see. Sometimes they post things on there for groups that they're looking for members for. I believe I got my notification sent from, I think, our state 911 board, because it was sent out like, hey, to different 911 centers, and hey, do you have anybody that wants to participate on this, because this group is getting together. And this is the first year I've really been active with Nina and with Next Gen 911 as far as working with other outside of my own agency, trying to develop those standards and things. So, but yeah, I would start with the Nina website. There's lots of information there.
Awesome. Excellent. And Crissy, for you, going into the wrap up of this, everything that we've talked about, and those who are watching and those who are going to come back in the replay, as a director, as someone who's been in dispatch and someone who runs a crew and all, what are some things that dispatchers and call takers, I guess, need to look for, I guess when we're kind of thinking about, discrepancies in locations and such, to be able to have that data, so that all of your mapping ends up coming out right the way you need it to be. Anything to
I
look
just think,
for.
a deeper understanding of GIS
Mhm.
would benefit everyone from the newest employee clear on up to the most experienced. I mean, I can't give you a really specific thing, I guess, to answer your question, but I really think this is something that, even in its most basic form, if we could just come up with some kind of training for them, we have training coming out our ears now online, which is great. Um, yeah, just a quick overview of how this works and what to watch for, and like she said, knowing that one small error, if once we correct it, the system is back on track.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you both very much for joining me for this round of the Dispatchers Roundtable, and all of you as well in the audience for your comments, for your questions, all of it. This is more stuff that I'm going to be looking into myself. and and we will definitely be having more discussions for the both of you. I will be right back with you here in just one moment. Thank you all very much for joining us tonight. Again, like I said, for round 12. Round 12. Holy hell. Round 12 of the Dispatchers Roundtable. And I think next week actually is when we're going to be doing round 13. And if it goes the way I think it's going to go, I'm just going to keep it a surprise. We're just going to leave it at that. Yeah. And I'm sure some of you in the audience who are watching right now are like, damn it, more teasing. He's teasing more stuff. Yes, I'm going to tease a little bit more here. But we've got more stuff coming, and this has been amazing. This has been a lot of fun. And this episode has been sponsored by InDigital as well as Rapid Deploy. If you have any comments, questions, or you want to be a guest on the show, you can email us, and that's going to be wttpodcast@gmail.com. Once again, it's wttpodcast@gmail.com. I already said the sponsored part. I said it out of order. I say it so many times, sometimes I get mixed up myself. This show will always be free, but if you're looking for any bonus content, any behind the scenes series, discounts to the store, anything like that, the Singing Badly in My Car series, that one, you can check it out at patreon.com/WTT podcast. Join us there. There's a lot of stuff that's coming out for that as well. And I can't thank you all enough for all of the support and everything for all the shows that we have that's part of the Code 7 podcast network. So thank you so much for that. This episode can be seen 24/7 on Facebook, YouTube, as well as Periscope, which is Twitter. And then one last thing, the Be the Difference Conference. This is a conference that's going to be put on by the Denise Amber Lee Foundation, powered by Within the Trenches Media. Get excited. There's a lot of good stuff that's going to be coming for that one. And if you're an industry partner, make sure to reach out to the Denise Amber Lee Foundation. This is straight up a tier 1 virtual conference that's going to be coming up, something that you want to be a part of. So they're looking for sponsors. Make sure to reach out for them. It's going to be amazing. That's going to be February 9th through 11th. Once again, it's the Be the Difference Conference put on by the Denise Amber Lee Foundation. And it's just going to be amazing. So have a good night. And I will see you tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern Time for Open Mic Live, where we share the lighter side of dispatch and talk about all the funny shit that happens in 911. So have a good night, and I will see you soon.